And welcome to another episode of More Than Dice. I'm Kathy. John has changed a little bit today, that you'll notice. It's got a little different look, which actually is not John. It is Peter from Creature Caster. And then we have just now coming back. Oh, I can see Jim in the background. He's getting
There's
everything
Jim.
ready. So, say hi, Kathy.
Hi, Kathy.
There we go. Welcome to episode 171. We are having ooh.
We're having ooh.
We
What
had
are we having over
a three-time
there,
smiley
Gonzo?
face combo. We had a combo go on there. So today's episode 171, where we have Peter from Creature Caster is going to talk about not only Judgment Eternal Champions, the Kickstarter, and also probably talk about some new Creature Caster stuff coming out, possibly.
Absolutely, yeah.
Sweet. So let's get to the business. Hey, we're a creature creator. If you didn't know that, we paint some of the Creature Caster models. We will probably be painting a bit more once Judgment comes out and I can get my hands on them. And I know Kathy is still working on her Suzerain of Desire.
I will finish the Suzerain of Desire this year.
that's
Shut up.
good. That's pretty good. I'll take this year.
Also, we want to thank Muse on Minis for hosting all of our files and getting out to everybody. Also, if you are buying anything from them, make sure you use the code More Than Dice, all one word, and you get 10% off your order. And they will help you out. They can also use your help, guys, because like everybody this year, all hobby related things really need your patronage. Is the best way to describe it. Last few years has been rough. We thank Tectonic Craft Studios for providing some product for us to give away. And Dan the Man is such a great and lovely guy anyway. And Metalhead Minis. Lynn Stahl is amazing. She hosts some of our products out herself. Dice, widgets, measuring stuff, you name it. Some Song of Ice and Fire that I did 3D prints on. But go check her out. And you can get some stuff. She also hosts some of the Warfare Weekend items that we're trying to sell from last year. Which all of those proceeds go to help the convention this year. So, other than that, welcome. Everybody's like, okay, yes, we're here.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
fine.
we are here.
Okay, fine.
So, with everything that's going on, we have a tradition here where we have to talk about things that have happened out in the world. For the first, we do what we call shout-outs. If you know anybody that's passed away, or anybody that needs a shout out or whatever, we give a good shout out and give a good cheer to them. So I there was a member of our community that passed away recently from COVID, which was kind of a shocker. It kind of hit the gaming community a little bit, and we want to definitely give a shout out to that person, and everything. Kathy, you got anybody?
Mm-mm.
Nope. Peter?
Yeah, I think it's been a little while now, but Tony from Elric's Hobbies passed away, and he
Yes.
unexpectedly, and so I know Elric's Hobbies is another really great group of guys, and they could use some support as well from the community. So it's
Yes.
it's been a rough one for them.
We know Tony and Steve, and and love Elric's Hobbies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
And
they're
that was a
very
blow.
cool. Yeah, it was very unexpected, pretty sudden, so it was sad.
and another good tradition is we talk about what we're drinking, but so we can cheer them. Peter, what you drinking tonight?
I've got kind of a bit of a girly drink. I got an amaretto sour. It's got some egg white and bourbon in there, so that's probably one of my favorite drinks. But yes, so
It does sound yummy.
It does.
cheers to Elric's Hobbies.
Kathy, what do you got?
Cheers, Elric. I'm drinking a Cabernet Sauvignon to go with my kick-ass ribeye steak. That's like my favorite thing on the planet. Actually, I take that back. A rib steak, my favorite thing on the planet. Ribeye, I mean, if I can't have the bone, I guess I'll still eat it.
See, I'm a fillet guy. I like my fillet. I'll take a fillet over anything any day. I'll still drink the cap though.
If someone cooks me a steak, I don't care what it is. I'm happy.
I absolutely care. I used to
Yeah, you're
cut meat
picky.
though, so yeah. I'm
Uh,
picky about my meat. Yes.
my drink of choice is water. I am on my last day of antibiotics, so I get to drink whatever I want next weekend, which will probably be beer. But it's my last day for my antibiotics. I just took my last pill before the podcast, so I'm
Hooray!
done. 20 days of antibiotics. I am so done of that stuff. Can't handle it. Can't take it anymore. Guys, we appreciate everybody that watches, everybody that listens, everybody that follows us on every platform, and you can find us on every audio platform out there. So if there's a particular one you like, and if there's one we're not on, let me know, and I'll get it, set up. Um, so you can have us there. Um, be safe. Take care of yourself. Wear your mask. Stay healthy. We want to see you when we can get together next time. From all of us here, cheers.
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 Oh my gosh, wait, hold on, I gotta do that again. Damn, that's good. Oh man, I can't wait to have a beer.
Damn, that water's
It goes
smooth.
smooth.
Smooth
It just
water.
glides down the back of the throat. So, so, Peter, we did have one of your cohorts on here not too long ago, talking about Judgment and getting everything in because he's a good old friend of mine. But I want to know about you. I mean, I know who you are, but I don't. How did you get started doing this? Why did you just think, hey, I'm going to make miniatures, for a living, and I'm going to make some badass, cool miniatures for a living?
Yeah, I mean, really, right place, right time. I suppose is a big part of that story. That loved the hobby, was always into it, always being a pretty creative person, always being making miniatures and designing worlds and coming up with ideas. And it wasn't a career path for me. I was actually just back in school and was thinking of trying to follow in my father's footsteps and go to med school, become a doctor. And at the time, Jeremy had done the Kickstarter. My other friend Simon was working on the production of the Kickstarter with him, and I kind of joined the company towards the end of the Kickstarter, helping to get it delivered and kind of taking over some of the logistics and the production and that side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And part of my deal was that if I was going to get involved and do the work for that, that I wanted to have sort of the ownership share in the company, um, and that's what was agreed on, and that's how I ended up doing this, and instead of still being in school, I guess. So it was definitely a change, and I'm really happy that I went for it. But it was yeah, it wasn't planned. It was circumstances, the stars aligned,
Huh.
and I got to start doing this.
So you mentioned Kickstarter,
Yeah.
because Creature Caster, is that how Creature Caster got started? Was through a Kickstarter?
Yeah, so the original Creature Caster was, as I said, founded by Jeremy. So he was a friend of mine from before, and he designed the models for that Kickstarter and launched that Kickstarter. And since then, he's left the company. He's gone on to do other projects, um, and sort of it's been me and my business partner Simon running Creature Caster 2.0, or the retail Creature Caster since then.
Okay. Um, Now, in a normal, and I put quote around normal, a normal type of thing, what does Creature Caster go to, like conventions and everything? Because that's where I bought my first model. It was an Adepticon. Shout out to
Yeah.
Adepticon. That's where I bought my first Creature Caster model because I knew about y'all, but I had no, I wouldn't say desire, but I'm a gamer, so usually if I buy a model, I'm like, oh, I'm going to use this in X, Y, Z. I
Yep.
usually very rarely buy a model just to paint and show and hang out. So, um, where did y'all, what's like your convention scene pre-COVID? Let's go with that.
Yeah, so pre-COVID, I mean, really, as we were kind of talking about, CreatureCaster sort of got into the retail and started growing a lot in 2017. And at that time, the only conventions we were going to was local ones to BC. So we went to Wet Coast, Attack X. So those are both the kind of
Mm-hmm.
like the two bigger tournaments. We went to a few little ones in the area. Um, and during that time, we kind of, heard about this Adepticon thing
Just a
and
little con.
just as a little con, Adepticon. And we decided we wanted to go there. And um, at the time, actually, we had a lot of help from Tony and Steve from Elric's Hobbies. They're actually, we probably would never have gone to Adepticon if it hadn't been for those guys because they helped us with the shipping, they helped us with the booth setup, they helped us, because we didn't have any American partners at that time, which makes it difficult to go and do these things because we don't have tax status, we don't have any of the things
Yep.
that you're supposed to have to go across the border to do those. So you need to have an American partner who can actually do the work and do that logistical side of things. So that was the first time we'd been like, okay, let's go to a convention that's bigger than our local area, and it blew our mind, right? So it was amazing. Everyone who we met there was amazing. We had an incredibly positive experience, and so after that, we were like, okay, we're going to try and go to as many conventions as we possibly can. So I think we did Adepticon, Warfare Weekend, LVO. Um, we were looking at Nova. We approached Gen Con, but we actually didn't get accepted to Gen Con. So hopefully we'll be able to go to Gen Con one of these years. Um, but yeah, we kind of are very interested in going to all the conventions because I think being a company that we work behind computer screens, we don't have a physical location where we get to see people. So going to the conventions was super rewarding and is just amazing for us to be able to talk to people and see people and see the enthusiasm in real life for the products we're making is like it touches the heart for sure.
That's a huge thing. It's one thing to be successful in selling and get all of your work done behind the scenes, at the factory or in the, your workplace. But having a few conventions, at least a few, where you can get out and see people and talk to them and shake hands and really get to know people, uh, it's the best. It's the best. I just I miss it. I miss it so much.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
um, setting up Warfare Weekend. My phone and messages and emails blow up with people going, "Where's the hotel ready? When's their tickets ready? When can we do this? How can we see this? When do I get to see you? When do I get to hug you? I'm ready. I want to play." Yeah, and it's just and it's nonstop, which is great. But I mean, it's also a lot of pressure. So I get that. I cannot wait. I would probably cry the entire weekend because people I haven't seen in almost 2 years type
Yeah,
thing.
Yeah.
we were just talking about that in I was watching my friend Jarrett's Terrain Minis Twitch stream this morning. And shout out for Jarrett's Terrain Minis. He's a fantastic person, a good painter, really supportive of the whole community. And we were talking about Adepticon, and everybody in the chat was like, "Oh my god, I can't wait till 2022."
Yep.
Everybody was like, "I can't wait. It's going to be my first time there. Last year was supposed to be my first year." And you know, just all this excitement. There's all this excitement. There had to have been like 20 people at least who were just like, "I can't wait to be there. I can't wait to meet you guys," or "I'm really trepidatious because I have anxiety, in large groups, but I still can't wait, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
I'm super excited for 2022.
I'm not someone who loves like huge crowds either, but yeah, there's just like so much energy when you do something like that, and it is pretty exhausting as well, like going to the convention. So, but it's so exciting. Like I recommend everybody, if you're feeling nervous, go for it, right? Like it's just totally new experience for me
It's
anyway.
it's a good exhaustion. One, because you know you work, you know, as someone that's been on the opposite side like you have, it's rewarding because you get to see your fans, you get to see people happy because they're like, look at your miniatures, and they're like, holy crap, I get to pick these up now instead of just seeing them online and wait for them. And then you get people that come in and it's like, I really love your stuff type
Hmm.
thing. So I mean, it's one of those crap. I am tired beyond belief, and I could sleep for 3 weeks, but damn, that was fun and that was good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So,
satisfying.
yeah.
um, Mizzy is going to put you on the spot. Captain Mizzy asks if Creature Caster will be at Warfare Weekend this year. Um,
We would love to. I really hope that we can make it out there. We don't really know quite yet what is going to be happening with vaccine travels restrictions. Canada is behind the U.S. with all of those things, so we're still kind of playing it a little bit by ear. But tentatively, we would like to be at Warfare Weekend. Yeah, hopefully with some Judgment demos too.
yes, which I figured was would
That would be
hopefully
awesome.
that
Yeah.
would be awesome because we have actually a complete section that is meant just for demos for everybody to show off all their games and everything. Captain Mizzy
Awesome.
says she's totally fair. She's just very helpful. Everything is kind of, as everybody knows, I have a friend of mine in Canada that's supposed to come down because he's on one of the champion tournament scenes. And he's like, if he comes down, when he gets back, he has to wait 2 weeks. He can't, he has to quarantine for 2 weeks no matter what. Um,
Yeah,
November is a ways away.
correct?
Who knows what could change between now and then
Correct.
right now.
Yeah, he says, I
yeah.
think what y'all's ruling now is that if someone goes out of Canada when they come back, they have to quarantine for 2 weeks at this point in time. So,
That's right. Yeah, and it's we don't have a huge team, so if I'm gone from 2 weeks and not able to work, or more than just me, because there's usually like 3 or 4 of us who go, so then that's 4 people who aren't working for 2 weeks, which we can't really do. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's we hope that all the restrictions get lifted, and like I was saying earlier, hopefully, you know, COVID becomes a thing of the past very soon, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. But not quite yet there yet. So
correct. Everything's still kind of, it's that yes, yes, oh, hold on, yes type
Eh,
thing.
eh,
yeah,
We're all still playing it by ear. It's like, would I like to? Yes. Am I positive I'm able to? No. So,
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so I got some more questions about creature casters I wanted to go over. Your models are not your typical miniature models. They're not just, here's your happy go lucky, here's your sweet little, baby lamb type thing, or, whatever. And, here's a woman with, 45 boobs, type thing. Where did the inspiration to come out to do something outside the norm? Because your miniatures are outside the norm of typical miniature companies.
Yeah, so I mean, I think kind of one of the mottos we have is that we're more a company that does sort of gaming for grown-ups, and because of that, we don't feel like we need to be PG with a lot of our products. Now, having said that, Judgment is a fully PG product. We decided that because this is hopefully something that people will be playing and streaming and all of that, we didn't want them to run into any issues with with Twitch algorithms and
Yes.
whatnot, taking them down. So that product is a fully PG product, but Creature Caster in general is not really PG. We don't when we approach something, we are personally trying to make something that is an artistic sculpture. So like we're
Right.
not just trying to make a miniature. We want it to be a sculpture, and we feel that in order to do that, we can't really be restricted as towards like what the whether it's PG or not. I guess whether it's going to be safe for work, or whether it's going to contain violence, or whether it's going to be, we're trying to make things that maybe touch people on a little bit of a deeper level, and maybe are a little bit disturbing, maybe make people think a little bit. So
Yeah, because I mean, your models are, they're demonic, they're violent looking, you have some nudity, but they're not, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not disgusting. They're not vile in that nature, and it's not. I
Some
can't
of
remember.
them are disgusting.
Well,
Yeah,
but I
we got
mean,
a few disgusting ones.
correct,
Yeah, I mean,
but it's not disgusting as in. Well, I'm trying to figure the word, and I can't think of the word right now. Um, it really doesn't.
as in just bad sculpting.
No, as in bad taste is the best way to
Yeah,
put it.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
think
you do have some nude models, and you've got breasts, but it's not like gratuitous, is what I'm saying. It's
yeah.
like
So
it's not gratuitous type
I
thing.
don't
the
know. I mean, I think some of it is. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I mean, I'll be honest. I think some of it is.
yeah, I think it's fair. Like this is a bit of a controversial subject as to what's okay and what's not
hmm
okay. Um, we have tried pretty hard to have all of our characters we like to think are strong characters, whether it's a male character, whether it's female character, whether it's nude, whether it's not nude. Um, we try not to be overly exploitative with any of our sculpting. But there are things that are controversial, and there's things that we've been accused of, whether we're being exploitative or not. And that's not our aim. Like for me personally, it's not easy for me to say that okay, it's bad if we have a male that has the nipple showing, but if a female has the nipple showing, like that's terrible, right? So, you know, these are very complex questions, I guess, that we're getting into. But yeah, like I like to think that we um, are creating sculpts that are interesting, that are characterful, that the characters are strong, um, and that have a good balance between the genders. Like
hmm
we've tried to have a very like equal representation of genders in our catalog, and I think we're still working on doing more and more variation of sculpts and challenging ourselves to show a more diverse range of body types and backgrounds, and we're excited to do that. So
Yeah. And I don't have a problem with any of them. I enjoy
Neither
all
do
the
I.
sculpts. I think they're very artistic.
Yep.
Uh, and oftentimes there are whimsical aspects to almost all the sculpts, which I really like. I find that some of them aren't sexual, some are. Some of them are sensual, and there are some that are gratuitous. It's not like they all are. That's not the focus, and that's not the
Correct.
purpose. So I
Yeah.
feel like that shouldn't be the thing that people, judge Creature Caster by.
No.
I hope not. Like I do think we try and do a really wide range of things, and yeah, we don't shy away from things that some people might find make them uncomfortable. Like those are things that we do want to challenge people with that. Whether it's the twins, whether it's the Lady of Ecstasy or the Queen of Ecstasy or the Lady of Depravity. These are some of the models that we kind of want to challenge some of those perspectives that are out there and have people ask the questions. And we, as I said, I think we don't make weak characters, and I think if we were doing that, then I would be sad. If we were making a female who was naked and weak and helpless and was a clear object that was, but none of our female characters have that. They
Mm-mm.
all have
No.
agency, they all have power, and that's what's I think most important to me.
I
Uh,
would be very sad indeed if someone took away the scissoring of desire and its vagina dentata.
Yes.
yeah, that's the thing. In my opinion, I loved your sculpts. I don't have any, my personal belief. I don't have any problem with it whatsoever. Um, but before we get into the judgment stuff, I want to ask you a question. Um, your stuff is very, very, very reasonably priced. Because the first time I went to Adepticon and I saw this, I was like, "Oh, I want this model." And then I heard how much it was. I was like, "Done." How do you keep your costs down? Because these aren't like little 28, 30 millimeter type models. These are huge. How do you keep your costs down on these? Yeah, these things are huge.
Yeah, so I mean, we worked really hard. I mean, part of it was actually, again, a bit of the circumstances around the Kickstarter. We had a certain budget. We had to get everything done within that budget, and it taught us how to do things, very efficiently. So we have, certain methods that we use when we're doing making our masters or making our master molds, and that allows us to get them out a little bit faster than some other companies. We have what we consider to be a reasonable margin, but it's probably not as big a margin as some other companies are charging either. So, I think there's a little bit of a combination there of like what we feel we need to make in order to keep producing the product, and also being able to be efficient with our process. So, we have an efficient process in terms of the masters, and in terms of the casting, we are pretty on top of how we train people and how we get, consistent quality models coming out of the molds. So, that combination allows us to reduce the cost to the customer, and that's what we always wanted to do. We always wanted to be able to make these really beautiful models and offer them at a price where people can afford them.
Yeah, I bought which is the Lord of Slaughter from one of my Kings of War Abyssal army, and I looked at it, I saw how big it was and everything, and all the wings, and I was like, man, it's only $75. Yeah, give it
Yeah,
to
I
me.
think
Yeah, give
I
it to
think
me.
American,
Yeah,
75 American, I think.
75 freedom bucks. But yeah, I'm really that I was really flabbergasted when I saw how much it was, and I was really happy about that because the price on that stuff it's reasonable and it's not overinflated on certain things. Because I was like, I'm used to like large sculpts, 150, and Lord of Slaughter is like 75, and I'm like, yeah, I can do it. Great sculpt, great pose, great everything about it, and it's huge. And I'm like, that one's
Yeah.
mine.
And that was
So
part of the thing about going to the conventions too. I think like people, you see it online, you don't get an idea of the scale, you don't get an idea
mm-hmm.
of all the details. Like it's impossible to see that in a picture. And when we go to the booths at conventions, we have our models there that people can pick them up and turn them around, and um, can look at them from all the angles and see exactly the details that go into the sculpts. And I think that's really cool to be able to show that off as well.
I'm going to switch over to our slideshow because we have a little bit of slideshow.
All
I'm gonna have
right.
to redo a little bit of. You gave me some pretty big pictures, so I'm gonna resize some stuff. Our first slide is, I believe, it is part of the Kickstarter for Judgment. I'm trying to get to the picture because it's like, no, that's not it. Come on, grab.
Yeah, I think the one you have up right now is the all the things that we've unlocked in the added to our core set. So these are the extra models that we unlock through the stretch goals. So there's the Isabel human paladin, Kogan, the Minotaur warrior there. We got a human knight, we got an elf ranger, and an elf illusionist.
Yeah. See,
As the
Piper
different
is one of my
models.
favorite sculpts of all time. Back in the because I have a lot of the old Judgment models, and Piper's one of my favorite of all time just because it's such a unique model that you've done. Okay, so these are the unlock, and Captain Mizzy just linked the Kickstarter and everything for this, and you've got a new monster that you are unlocked.
Ooh, Inferno monster.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just noticed that.
yeah. So this one is leans pretty well into the creature caster style of sculpting. We got a demon there.
Mhm.
So he's sort of actually kind of like a fire um, monster, fire elemental, but he's got some sort of demonic aspects to him, and he was fun to work on. He was, depending on the different sculpts. So for those who don't know, Judgment went from being a 54 millimeter scale game to being a 32 millimeter scale, and part of that process was for us to sort of redo all the sculpts. We redid from the ground up. Inferno is one of the ones that we kind of did from the ground up. Some like Piper are actually don't have much change to it. It's already a model that we were really happy with, so we just changed some little details around the anatomy and some of the details to make it work better at a 32 millimeter scale. But yeah, so
Now,
and yeah, go
the
ahead, Kathy.
the 54 millimeter models will still be game playable like in tournaments, right?
Yeah, so if you have the 54 millimeter, they fit pretty well onto the map. There's, a very slight overlap onto the hexes, but they're fully playable. We've played a bunch of games with them on the map, and they're going to be, you would be able to bring them to the tournaments if you already have them. We're not going to force people to play with the version 2 models, but so far it seems like a lot of people are picking up the version 2. So
I'm like I can't jump into the Kickstarter right now. My money's kind of tight, but I'm definitely want to get into it as soon as it comes. Like when I have the money for like retail or whatever,
Mhm.
and I probably will rebuy all of them and just take the 54s and kind of paint them up and just go, hey, these are the Titan scales
Yeah, they're
of all
kind
the
of cool
models.
collector's edition. Some people are using them. So again, this is a change between version, but we've added like the um, sort of the god system to it, where all the characters have alignment with different gods, and there's no hard factions in Judgment. So it's a little bit more like Magic, where you would have like your color pie,
Hmm.
and you'd be able to choose, whichever colors you want to combine together, and you'd be able to take any creatures you want, just provided you kind of have the mana to cast it. So it's a similar idea with the gods, is that you can take whatever heroes you want, but if you choose the ones that are aligned to your gods, you're gonna get bonuses. So by that kind of makes it for interesting list building that you get to do, because now you get to choose, are you going for hero synergy or are you going for the god synergy? And it also, if you're a new player, makes it a lot easier to get started, because you choose whatever god you like, and then you have a list of heroes that are champions of the god, and you can just choose from that smaller list of heroes to make your warband. So
So it's sort of like
um,
a theme,
yeah, it's like
a
a theme for your
theme type list.
theme. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
at the very bottom of this, the Istar and Krognar effigies. Now, in the original edition, there wasn't really these type of things, the effigies. It was just like this hex that was there, and that was like, oh, that's my effigy you have to kill. But now you've
Yeah.
got physical representation, and these are badass. I really like these.
Yeah, these are really cool. And so these are the representation of your god on the battlefield. The lore behind it is that, there's the demons have kind of started invading this plane of existence, and in order to protect it, they've built all the gods have built this network of effigies, and it kind of creates like this barrier that protects them from the demons. But now the gods are fighting over who's going to control these sort of nodes on the network. So, you kind of take down the opponent's effigy, and you get to turn it into one of your own. That's how you win the game, right? So,
Yeah.
the greater story is that if you're able to conquer all the effigies, you'll have complete control over the entire network, and you'll sort of become the omnipotent god of everything. So that is the storyline. All the gods have some cool personality, some cool lore behind it, and we wanted those effigies to be really badass, because I think that's the first thing that people look at. We have a lot of heroes now. We in the Kickstarter there's 31 heroes. In retail there'll be over 40 heroes. That can be a little bit overwhelming, but if I say, here's 6 really cool gods, choose the one that you think fits your personality, that's an awesome way of getting into a game.
Yeah. Now, I brought up the next slide I brought up is some of their painted sculpts. It's like six painted, it was like five, no, six painted ones. Um,
Yeah.
and um, a couple of them are very, very, very similar. Like, I don't remember the elf necromancer and the minotaur's name. I don't know the names very well, but they're very reminiscent of the original sculpts, just tweaked and changed a little bit.
Yeah, we really wanted to keep even if there's some changes to the model, we wanted to keep like the core of their personality. Um, the elf saying not a ton of changes. We kind of like modified the face, but we kept the same pose. We've kept the same, um, kind of kept the same overall feeling. We improved the hair and the hands and the cloak, but it's still the same recognizable character from edition one. So we want to respect what edition one accomplished and respect some of the characters that were developed there.
And do you know who painted some of these models?
Yeah, these were all painted. This set was painted by Dylan Cartier. He's a painter from Vancouver, and incredible painter.
We like to always give a shout out to whoever's doing it. All right, this is your exclusive, Isabel. How did she get exclusive, and why is she exclusive?
So Kickstarter, we always feel you need something exclusive that you can offer to people. The nature of Judgment is we want it to be a game that people are playing for years. We can't have things that are going to be exclusive and no one can ever get them again, because that would distort the balance of the gameplay.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's really important to us. So, this is basically a model that this version of her, this sculpt of her, is only going to be available for the Kickstarter. We're really proud of this model. I think it's incredibly awesome, and something different from what Creaturecaster usually does, and it was really nice to be able to show off some of our skills in a different way. And this particular sculpt won't ever be available again. We will retire it after the Kickstarter. There will be a new one, but it will look significantly different.
Yeah, because this model really deviates from the Creaturecaster type thing, because isn't she like a human paladin?
Yeah, exactly. She's anti-demon, so she's the anti-Creaturecaster model. But yeah, she's really good. We worked really hard on getting the face the way we wanted. We kind of wanted a really noble face, and the armor is really awesome. Yeah, we spent a lot of time on this model. I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, 'cause that was one thing I did notice about the Kickstarter is you're offering two different types of production models. You're offering a PVC and a resin type. The PVCs are all one sculpt, one model, no gluing, and the resins, of course, the typical gluing and type thing.
So they're pre-assembled. So when the casts are made in the PVC, they do come in parts, but they're assembled overseas. So that part of everything is outsourced to China. The resin we make in-house and comes not assembled, is more expensive, and you get some additional options. So, like for example, for Isabel, we're working on doing some wings, so you can remove the cape and give her kind of angel wings. So
that's cool.
I like the idea of there being PVC one and a resin one.
Yeah.
I got a game that all the Kickstarter exclusive models for that game were PVC models, and they didn't plan to ever make any other models, and it was a board game, and it was supposed to be just cardboard stand pieces.
right.
And so the models were exclusive, but they were the PVC, and I was wishing that they had a resin option so that you could file mold lines and assemble it yourself in a slightly more careful manner, and I still painted the PVC ones, but the whole time I was painting, I was like, man, I really wish I could, get rid of this mold line, but with that material, it's very difficult. And then, some of the arms and stuff were only slightly a little bit off, and I was like, oh, like I could just, if I had put it together myself, I could have filled this gap with a little green stuff and, finessed it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I still love them, and I love the idea that you have both options.
Correct, and that's what I think is great, because you got Kathy, which is a crafter and an artist with it all and everything, and then you've got people that are like, I can't do this for crap, and they're just like, I got the model, I put it on the table, I'm good to go, and I'm good to play, which is good in my opinion. You're catering to different play styles and different artistic levels.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a tough choice because obviously it increases our cost significantly by offering both materials, but we have our Creaturecaster customer base is used to resin. They like building the models. We wanted to make sure we had a product that was really going to be appreciated by them and is similar to all the products they're used to from us. And then at the same time, we want this to be a game that you can open your box and play it if that's the type of person you want to be. You can open that up, play your game. The models aren't going to, like, resin is more fragile.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not experienced with resin is probably not the product you want, right? Because you have to assemble it. It's work, and if you're not careful with your models, they're going to break. So the PVC is there as a wonderful starting material. We're putting a ton of work into trying to make those PVC models look nearly as good as the resin ones. Like, we're doing everything we can to elevate PVC, and it's really interesting, because originally I was very anti PVC because I'm really used to the sort of soft PVC that's like really bendy,
Mm-hmm.
and this PVC that we're using is very rigid. It's super hard material. Mold lines are a little bit easier to clean with that. It is pre-assembled, so might not be as well assembled as if you were to take a resin one, assemble it yourself. You don't have the options that you do with resin of how you're going to assemble it, or if you want to do those little things that hobbyists like to do, like change a weapon or change the pose. It's pretty difficult to do that in PVC. But
PVC has come a very long way.
It
It
has.
is no longer the rubbery, floppy type stuff. It is actually, because I know, was it uh, Star Wars Legion uses that, and it's come out very well. So I mean, it actually has done really good. I brought up
yeah,
your effigy of
it's changed a
Istar, and
lot.
you said it's a PVC sculpt also. This thing is cool as shit. I don't care what anybody says. That is an awesome looking effigy. I like that you have a 3D one and a 2D one.
Yeah, so actually now in the core box, we unlocked all the effigies as well. So you get a 3D effigy in the core box. You get the cardboard as well. Some people were, we were like, well, do we really need the cardboard anymore? But if you want to travel, maybe you don't want to pack around your
Yeah.
effigies, so it might be easier for that. Um, I would make the effort to pack it around though, because it looks so cool. I really like my games to be super immersive, um, and we put a lot of effort into elevating Judgment that way, right? So we wanted it to have those options. If you're someone who's wants to get into the world of feeling like you're in a place, we've got the train, we've got the effigies, we've got all the abilities that the characters cast are represented with 3D sculpted tokens. So everything we've done is to try and kind of like
Have you
up that level of immersion.
have you talked with the Judgment guys? And this is something, since y'all are doing 3D effigies and everything. One of the things I did like in one game, and it was Guild Ball. They gave not a reward out for the best painted army, their best painted goal. And I think that would be kind of cool to have, hey, who has the best effigy? Because can I make my own effigy?
Yeah, I mean, I think we that's something we'll have to discuss when we get to the
Oh,
tournaments, but
huh.
I don't see any problems with people doing scratch built effigies, and we could have something really cool with that too. Yeah.
Because y'all are actually doing, it's not mandatory, but y'all are actually have 3D terrain now,
Yeah, we have 3D
which
terrain
I think
option.
is amazing since you're going as a gridded system. Um, Making the terrain is like, oh, here's the hex, here's where it goes. And I think that is really, really good for the game, for the board, because it's not a lot of terrain. It's not like huge, bulky stuff, but I mean, it is so much more of an immersion when you see that 3D terrain on the table.
Yeah, it makes me really excited to play. Like every time I start setting it up, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is the game that I want to get into just because I love the way it looks, right? And the way we're doing it now. So before there used to be preset scenarios and they used to be on a printed map and it used to be fixed. But now we have the terrain pack, and that terrain pack we we have a map supplement, so it shows you where to lay out your terrain. You can also build your own scenarios now, so you can move the terrain however you want. So really there's like unlimited ways that you can now set up your board. So in terms of replayability, the game already has a ton of replayability, but now you have even more because you can create your own scenarios, and yeah, it looks cool, and we'll be able to do more terrain in the future, I hope. So
Yeah. I'm just showing the Krognar one. This one's actually really cool looking too. Uh, Coming out of the portal type stuff. I think it looks really neat. I think it's got a really cool paint job to it.
yeah, these ones were painted by Mitch Stevens. He's our in-house painter.
I have a question about the resin. Do you have any plans with some of the resin judgment models, since they're digitally sculpted, to scale them up and have larger models available?
Yeah, so in the Kickstarter we have two 54 millimeter ones that we've scaled up. Doesn't need much change. Scaling it up, we found that very minimal changes were needed, and those we're always going to do those as sort of limited editions. So those two 54 millimeters, there's the Isabel you can get at 54 millimeter, and the Saiyan, the Elf Priestess, is available at 54 millimeter as well. And so both of those will be exclusive to the Kickstarter, and we'll probably do the different stuff for different events. We'll scale a model up and return it to the 54 millimeter size, which I think is just a ton of fun for people who are painters or like to work in that scale. So
Well,
we'll be doing that.
one of the things that we talked about last time was the old Judgment. The models were so big and it was pretty expensive. Now the models are shrunk down and much cheaper. But y'all are able to make and produce bigger models, so you could have technically a dragon, and I put quotes because we don't know, a large-scale dragon miniature on there that takes up more hexes, and it's not going to cost us, $300 for this model type thing.
Yeah, that was definitely part of the consideration of what we wanted to do is by bringing the judgment scale down, it matched with, Creature Caster's big model scale. So even though they're huge, they're 32 millimeter compatible, right? So like we're sculpting the details on them to be compatible with a 32 millimeter model. So now there's a match between the judgment scale and the Creature Caster model scales. And so as we move forward, there's the opportunity to kind of like introduce some bigger monsters and even potentially a bigger battle system, as we go through, so we could have more heroes on the board or play on a bigger board and that type of thing.
Yeah, because one of the things that the biggest change, in my opinion, I'm a big competitive player, and one of the things that's always, and I hate to say it, it's an argument, is measurement. And
Yep.
everybody I've talked to, and everybody I know that's a tournament style player, yes, they do like the measurement system, but in a small scale game, y'all adding these hexes and doing this in there solves so many argument slash problems in the game that I applaud you for this, because I don't have to worry about, am I, a hair's length away or hair's width from the model. I can go, he's 6 hexes away, done. It makes for quicker gameplay, it makes for ease and simplicity, and it just goes and it's done. I don't have to worry about anything on that.
It speeds the game up. You don't have to worry if you nudge a model, if you knock it off the hex, you're like, okay, well, I know what hex it was on.
Correct.
Like all of these things are really key for playing at a competitive level, I think. But even more importantly for me is they're pretty key for teaching new people how to play the game, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if you have somebody who's never done a game where you have to measure things out and do all these particular movements, it's pretty overwhelming. So the hex system makes that so much easier. And so like I love teaching the game to people as well with the hexes on it.
Our next image we have on here looks like some type of witch. Who is this?
Yeah, so this is our Trickster model. This one is going to be coming up. I think July is probably when he'll be available, and he's pretty cool. I've got our sample print here. I bent the staff on it a little bit, but I don't know if that's focused at all, but it might be impossible to see that.
Give me 1 second. Don't have your picture.
I like that model. I like the artwork. I suppose the model will probably be good too, but I really like the artwork.
Yeah, so he's a little hard to see in the camera, but you can see we've got
he's really tall.
Right. Yeah.
Really tall,
very
and
tall
slender
model. So this is another little model that we've been working on, and this one is our first infantry size model that we're planning on releasing. And people got a preview of this guy in our Atriarch of Ruin set. Actually came with one of the little infantry guys. So he's really tall, really slender, but he fits really well with our Atriarchs. And
I like that a lot.
Yeah, he's something a little bit different, a little bit more playful than some of the models we usually do, and we're really happy with him. We think he's going to be super popular.
I'm like, when I was getting into Judgment and playing it, I and I call them pet classes, the necromancers. Oh, I get to bring out skeletons. I get to bring out this demon. Yes, I'm going to flood you with all of these models, so you have to deal with that. So whenever I like to see necromantics type stuff. Your next one looks like the same model, but riding a beholder type.
Yeah, so this is I got the print of that one too.
Oh,
so
hold
you
on. Let me switch it so people can see that.
Yeah.
It looks like the Creature Caster logo representative there.
I'm gonna.
Yes, he's really cool. So when we do this kit, we have him and the eyeball, floating eyeball, and then we have him riding the floating eyeball. So there's the two different ways
cool.
that you can use them. So you can
Is
kind of
he
have the
different
pet or ride on
stats?
the pet.
Different stats while riding on the eyeball.
So this one is not in Judgment at this time. So he's there's no stats. There's no stats for him. Just the pure sculpt. So you can use him for whatever you want.
Okay.
He'd be
Cool.
great for some D&D, I think.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love those.
I do like it though because it looks like he has. Now that I can tell, it looks like he has more than. It looks like he has 6 legs.
Yeah, he's got. Let me count how many.
Well, you have those arms
exactly
that were
6.
just sort of hanging down off at the waist in the
Yeah.
standing up one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of leg arms. So he's got a pretty unusual anatomy, but I think he's
like an
awesome.
arachnid sort of.
Yes. Yeah, he's pretty twisted.
Your next one looks like Lord Fazil.
Yeah, this is Lord Fazil. So he is a Judgment sculpt that we chose to rework this one from the ground up. This is the illustration for him. So he's an undead knight, and we took a little bit of the Death Dealer type of vibes. We wanted to get that in there, so it has some Death Dealer feel. And he's the first undead to ever exist in the Athian universe, in the Judgment universe.
Yeah, because the Lord Fazil in original was sort of like a Frost Knight, Death Knight in a way, in a little bit. It was less undead looking and more, plate looking. And now this one's definitely you can tell this is an undead model.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first one had quite a bit of Arthas from WoW type of inspiration, and this one is a little bit more the way Creature Caster kind of leans with our art style is not so much the a little less cartoony than the previous versions of Judgment.
Yeah. And that was it. That's all you got.
That's all I got for you.
So, rules-wise, Judgment. Let's get into some of the nitty-gritty. Still going to have a tournament scene?
Yes, very important. We still want to see that being played as a tournament. We are already running some tournaments in our beta testing, and that's something that we're going to, for sure, keep supporting.
Okay. Because I know, like, at Warfare Weekend, y'all did, the JNAC was there, and I was really proud and happy to have that at Warfare Weekend type thing, and I can't wait to have y'all back again and have that tournament again, because it was a lot of fun. A lot of people showed up for it. We had a lot of new people pick up models at Warfare Weekend. I'm kind of getting their screens back to normal. On top of that, how is the tournament scene going to work since we've got new mats and new terrain? Are we still going to do like a pick and ban system?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things with tournaments. So there's we have the 3v3 mode, which is the sort of the main mode that you get in the core box. So that is a fully tournament playable system as well, a little bit faster than the 5v5, which I believe the JNAC was a 5v5 last time.
Yes.
So we might be running a combination of 3s and 5s, or 3s leading into 5s. We'll kind of be making that determination as we go. Pick and ban, we now have 2 different types of pick and ban system as well. So one we're calling the veto system, which is kind of like your traditional, you ban something and then the opponent picks their warband out of the remaining heroes. The veto system, you get to choose a hero, your opponent bans a hero, you choose another hero, your opponent bans a hero, and then you get your last 3 heroes out of that, or 1 hero, depending if you're playing 3s or 5s. So both of those have very different feels, like very different list building is required, and they're both really awesome. So I will probably have some tournaments in each, and yeah, we'll be looking to do more and more tournaments as time goes on. Warfare Weekend seems like a no-brainer for 2022 for us. If you're happy to have us, we will be happy to bring the JNAC back there as well. So
always happy. It's really good to have a game this size because it's there. It's people, they don't have to bring a lot of models, so they can like, oh, I really sucked at this tournament. I can go jump into your tournament because I didn't have to bring 75 models to play in this
yeah,
type thing. And I really like I like the style of the game because it's not just the model goes up, kicks somebody's butt, and it's done, and it's wiped off the board. Just because the model dies, it still can come back.
yes,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
So it's like you're always, part of the system is you always feel like you have your full warband available, which I think is kind of similar to something like Guild Ball. As opposed to something like Blood Bowl, right? Blood Bowl, you start losing heroes in Blood Bowl, and you're pretty much out of the game, right? You can't. It's hard to get back into it. So with this, losing heroes and even when and how you lose heroes is actually becomes part of the strategy. Um, and the idea is that these effigies are essentially maintaining the physical bodies of all your heroes. So provided your effigy is still alive, your heroes can be regenerated onto the battlefield.
but if your effigy's dead, you've lost the game.
The effigy dead, you've lost the game. So
Okay.
until you lose the game, you keep getting bring your heroes back. Yeah.
Heroes still level up.
Heroes level up, so we go up to level 3 on all the heroes. So every hero can level up twice, and
Okay.
that is also part of the strategy, deciding which heroes and when you're going to get those levels. Very important.
And magic items still in the game.
You get the magic items when you do have the shop action, which is again I think probably one of the most MOBA feeling things about the game for me is you get to when you do die, you go to your effigy, you get to do a shop, so you get to give your guy some equipment, so he's maybe got knocked out, but now you get to come back a little bit stronger, which is a really cool dynamic. And also when you kill the monsters, you get to go shopping and you get to choose what artifacts you'd like to get from killing the monsters on the board.
Yeah. Um, Originally, Judgment had an app to build armies and to mark damage and all that. Still going to be compatible. Still going to have that also.
Warband Commander is already upgraded. So Warband Commander is the name of the app. That's
Mm-hmm.
already being upgraded to the beta version of 2. So that has pretty much the full rulebook. All the cards are fairly close to the final version, and as we move to the retail, that'll all be upgraded into new graphics, the final polished version of the rules, final polished version of the cards, and probably a few little other improvements that we're hoping to sneak in there. But yes, it's basically for tournament play, and that's really helpful because you don't always have a ton of room on the table, so you can take your phone and bring up the app, and you can track your hero damage, you can track what gods you're using, everything can be done in the app.
Gotcha. So Kickstarter's only got like 50 hours left in it. You hit quite a few goals. After the Kickstarter's over, it shows on there that it's like roughly January 2022. And we all know at Kickstarters that can fluctuate. We're all used to that by now. After the Kickstarter's done and we're looking at retail, what's after the Kickstarter and retail? What are we looking at?
In terms of what models we've got planned, or just general plans?
General models, you surprise us.
So yeah, after we deliver the Kickstarter, we have a very aggressive release schedule for the first year. So there's a lot of heroes that we want to get out to people, and we're going to be releasing releasing on a very rapid schedule. So after we get it out to people, people start playing. We want to make sure we can add even more to that experience. Um, and after that, the following year, we're hoping to do a slightly slower release, brand new heroes. The 2023 will have some, or it'll have probably the very last heroes that people have ever seen before. After that, it'll be all unique heroes for Judgment. 2022, we're also going to be bringing out unique heroes that no one's seen before, but there will be a lot of familiar ones as well. So we're kind of mixing that in with having new heroes and old heroes as we get everything caught back up to where version 1 was. We have sort of a lot of plans around what we want to see happening with retail stores and what we want to see happening with the tournament scenes. And so we're going to be spending a lot of our time building that side of things up as well. And we have some retailers who are really interested in working closely with us. So we're really excited to be working with them. And, we're hoping to see sort of regular game nights happening. And, we have some other possible big plans that we're not ready to announce yet. So I'll have to wait.
But we're not going to wait. You're not going to be waiting, like once we get the Kickstarter, we're not going to be waiting 6 months for new stuff to come out type thing.
No. And so, when the Kickstarter comes out, obviously that's a lot of models. People will be getting 31 models for someone who's ordered them all. A lot of people will have the core set, and the core set right now has 12 models in it, I think. So 11 models, possibly 12. And that, like if you're a casual gamer, that core set provides you with entertainment that's going to last years. But if you are sort of a really competitive player or someone who's been already into Judgment, you won't have to wait that long before you get stuff that you've never seen before or that is brand new for you.
But with that coming in, like I said, that's where the core set comes in. You'll have the rules for all the models out, even the ones that aren't in the new scale. So I can still use my old models. So you'll have the rules for those old models out.
So the rules for the old models are done. We probably won't have them be tournament legal because not everyone will have access to them.
Okay.
So in terms of tournament legality, you won't be able to use the old models in the tournament, but you'll be able to use them at home. The rules will be part of the Warband Commander, but because not everybody has access, that wouldn't create a fair play environment. So,
of course, yeah, that's one of the rules that we have in our tournaments at Warfare Weekend is pre-release models are allowed if they're bought at the convention. If you bought them somewhere else, they aren't. But if they were released, like one of our companies, they release, they'll do a pre-release at the convention. We're like, yes, that's legal because everybody at the convention has the ability to grab it. But
that seems like a good incentive. Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, we it's one of our rules on most of our tournaments, our games is like, if you bought it somewhere else and it's still not tournament legal, or it's still not out to the public, it can't be used. But if it was brought out at the convention, it can be used because everybody has a chance to use it, type of thing. So now I get that completely. As a competitive player, it would be pretty crappy if Jim Bob that went overseas to a convention and was able to get that rare sculpt and rare rules, and then brought it over here and just is able to use it. It doesn't give a fair playing field. Best way to put it.
Yeah, exactly. We were going to make sure that anything that we release that's exclusive or rare is cosmetic. So, there'll be cosmetic upgrades that you might be able to get at a convention that nobody else has. But in terms of gameplay advantage, everyone will be on the same level playing field.
Yeah. Alt sculpts are great because it's just like, oh, that's the alt sculpt. That's cool. I didn't have that one. But it adds no advantage in the game.
Yeah. And with the you mentioned the terrain before as well for tournaments. So there will be a tournament pack that goes out which has the scenarios that particular tournaments can use, or that the tournament organizers can choose the scenarios from that scenario booklet. And so, the tournaments will have sort of a standardized format so that becomes fair, and potentially we can turn that into more of sort of like a global campaign ultimately to be like, okay, there's these 10 different tournaments that got played all over the place, who's the grand champion type of a thing. So
Ryu Spitfire says, in case you're wondering, I'm super happy right now because I got something that I was waiting for a bit on. So, not sure. But I'm really excited for it. I'm excited to see Judgment come back into the scene. I'm excited for a new play format. I'm excited to be able to put this down and play on it. Like I said, you've made it much more friendly, newbie friendly, best way to put it. So I think that's really, really good in my opinion, because a lot of games, especially if they've been out for quite a few years, people are scrambling to get forward, and it's a big, overwhelming act.
yeah, the
Technocat.
hexes help a lot with the simplifying. It is still like a really incredibly deep tactical game. Like it's one of it's has a fair degree of complexity, so having the hexes definitely helps get over the initial hurdle of learning and moving on to the greater tactics that are there.
Technocat has a question. Will the resin collector's version of the models be standard stock when game releases, or is it the plastic only going to be standard stock and resin is always going to be limited?
Yeah, so we are going to offer both the resin and the PVC in the retail side of things, direct from CreatureCaster. When we go to individual retailers, we don't think that we're going to be able to produce enough resin stock in order to fulfill the retailer's demand. So it'll probably only be PVC that goes to the retail stores. Also, the Kickstarter has exclusive parts for all the models. So those parts will not ever be made again. So they'll just be made for people who ordered resin during the Kickstarter.
Okay. So in release, if you want resin, you have to get the Kickstarter. Otherwise, everything else is going to be PVC from here on out.
No, we will be offering resin direct from CreatureCaster.
Okay,
We just
so
won't be able to ship it to all the different retailers. So
gotcha.
So
will
it'll
a
just be
retailer
direct.
be able to buy it from you and then have it delivered to the store?
Good question. We'll have to look at that. So yeah, there's definitely, the big problem with resin, which I think everybody knows now, is it's difficult to scale, right? So it's a lot of training. It requires a lot of space. It doesn't scale very well in terms of production. So we're doing our very best to, again, use our kind of like methodology that we have of being really efficient with it and sort of scale that up. And I think we're doing that better than most other companies have been able to, but it still becomes very challenging when we start talking about, are we going to stock 100 retail stores with a complete product range in resin? We might be able to get there, but it won't be something that we're getting to immediately.
Is there going to be a big price difference? That was something I didn't know. Is the PVC and the resin, what's the price difference going to be?
Yeah, there's a pretty big price difference between PVC and resin. So let me look really quickly. So the core set in PVC is on Kickstarter, it's 110. It will be more expensive than that in retail, and it's 199 in resin. So it's like nearly double the price to do the resin core set. And that's like pretty similar for all of our add-on packs, all of those things. I think it's about, PVC is about a 40% price drop compared to resin.
Whenever this goes live and goes to retail stores and everything, is the PVC going to be cheaper than the resins?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's that's one of the big things that when we talk about scaling is, just very briefly getting into the manufacturing. PVC, you make the mold. The mold costs a lot of money. It's made out of metal, but your cost per figure is a lot lower. Mm-hmm. Resin, you make the mold, but the mold burns out every 20, 30 models that you produce. And you have to remake the mold. So the process that's happening there is with the PVC, the more we sell, the less it costs us, and with the resin, it's the same cost. It doesn't matter if we make a million copies of resin, or if we make 10, it's going to cost us the same per model.
I didn't know it was that. I wouldn't say low, but 20 seems like a low number to me to get out of a cast.
Yeah, it's pretty low. Those, especially when you're dealing with complex models like we have, and we have pretty high quality control over what we're willing to accept in terms of mold deterioration.
Mm-hmm.
So the longer you run those molds, the best model is always the first model, and you get progressively worse from there. So between, you might be able to get all the way up to 40 if, depending on what the piece is shaped like, how many undercuts there are, whether the silicone's going to get caught and torn. But yeah.
I think we've all had those models where we found a little piece of silicone wedged in one of the,
yeah,
in a little overhang or something, and then you're like, well, that mold
that was probably the last one. Yeah. Yeah.
It's actually into our media section, but we're glad to talk about everything else. Do you have anything you want to add before we go to media section?
No, just I'm excited to be able to actually play with people in real life. So.
You, me, and like the entire world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's looking forward to that. Let's jump over to media section. See what we got. So of course, I have to fix my camera because it always goes wonky in the middle of the stream. So, this is our media section, and in the media section we have a rating scale. We have 2 rating scales on this media section. One is Cats to Casablanca, with Casablanca being the greatest movie ever made, and Cats being the worst movie ever made. And then we have a rating scale of space herpes. The more space herpes, the worse it is. So I'll let Kathy go ahead and do her first movie. That way you can get a judgment. And I know you and I have a movie we can talk about together. So, yes. Kathy, what's your first movie you want to review?
So I have 3. I have 3 movies.
What?
I know, right? So the first one that I will talk about is Nights in Rodanthe, because last night I just wanted to watch something, sappy, romantic kind of thing, because, sometimes I want to do that. And this movie I don't know when it came out. It came out late 90s, maybe? I actually don't know. Anyways, Richard Gere and Diane Lane. And it's about this guy who's a doctor. A patient dies on the table. He's kind of traumatized by it. His life has changed. And he goes to this small island in North Carolina, I think, where there's this sort of bed and breakfast right on the coast, right on the water, on the ocean. But he goes to this town to meet the guy whose wife died on the operating table so that he can talk to the guy. And he doesn't really know what to say. And the woman who's at the hotel or the bed and breakfast, she's going through the breakup of her marriage. Her husband left, it's disintegrating, but now he wants to get back together, and she's like, I don't know what I want to do. Her life is changing. So both these people are at a crossroads, and they get thrown together, and there's a hurricane, and but it's all about people being at a crossroads in life and the choices they have to make, and they're not always easy choices, and second chances are a possibility. And there was a moment in this that was a bit of a tearjerker, made me a little weepy. And there was another moment that made me cry my eyes out. Oh my God. Like, I had to get a Kleenex. But it was good. It was good. And it wasn't as sappy as I thought it would be, which is nice. But overall, I felt like it was a really good movie. It had some very meaty, deep things happening in it, not like lighthearted rom-com kind of a thing, which kind of took me by surprise. I didn't know what to expect. So, but it was good. Uh, I'm giving it 0 space herpes because when a movie makes me bawl my eyes out and not hate it, um, that's a good thing. So
Uh,
that's that one.
Peter, what you got?
Okay, well, do we want to start with the one we both watched,
Yeah,
or
we
you
can do
want?
that.
Okay, yeah. So yesterday watched Army of the Dead on Netflix. So that's like I think a pretty new Netflix release.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it is basically not super deep action packed movie. Not there's some pretty huge plot holes in it. I don't know how
What?
much you want to reveal about the plot, so maybe I'll let you take over and you can describe the plot.
Yeah, the plot is, without doing spoilers, the plot really is a zombie movie with a bank heist, is the best way to put it. Um,
Yes.
so it's kind of like, um, what is it? What was the zombie movie that came out with Woody Harrelson in it?
Zombieland.
Zombieland. It's kind of like a more serious Zombieland with a Ocean's 11 feel to it,
Yeah.
but not a great Ocean's 11 feel. It to me, it's very gory. There is so much gore and blood and all that stuff in this is not even funny. So it's not for the faint of heart or whatever, but it is very gory. There are a ton of plot holes. Um, what cracks me up because this is a Zack Snyder cut because he's the one that directed it. This put Zack Snyder. It went down. um, the movie isn't bad, but it's 2.5 hour zombie movie, and it feels long.
It it felt pretty long, right? Like it was there was entertaining parts. I liked the cast of characters. So it's like kind of that, like you said, the Ocean's level 11. You go around and you gather your group of heroes who are going to go on this adventure. And so I like the cast of characters that were put together for it. I find that to be a little bit cheesy, kind of, that you're building up your war band or your adventure party in the movie, but I do get a kick out of it. Still, I can't help myself. So I liked the cast of characters that they had
It was.
that were going on this adventure together. But in terms of the actual plot or the reasons and how it all went down was, um, yeah, it didn't make hardly any sense to me as to why people were doing what they were doing. And yeah, I can't say too much about it without having some pretty major spoilers. I did like the zombies. They kind of had like two different tiers of zombie in the movie. So there's like the slow, mindless zombie, and then there's like the fast, scary zombie. And I sort of liked that idea that there was like the different types, and there was like a whole zombie civilization that had been created,
Mm-hmm.
which on the surface is something that could be really cool. I really like how would a zombie civilization function, um, but they didn't explain any of it, and I don't think it would have functioned. And I think like it was just a huge gaping hole in the plot for me.
Yeah.
So
There,
yeah.
there was quite a few plot holes in it. Is it a good, rompy, fun zombie killing flick? Eh, it's okay. Uh, was it horrible? No, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either.
Yeah, I think if you're going into it to be to not think too much about stuff, not analyze it, and just enjoy seeing zombies getting killed and having some fight sequences, then you probably be entertained by it. It's not going to really challenge you intellectually or in
No.
in any other way, and it may be way too gory for some people. None of that really bothers me, so that was fine for my levels. But uh, yeah, it was
To
middle of
me,
the road for me, so I don't know.
yeah, for me, it gives about a 2.5 space herpes type thing. It's just a meh. type thing. It's just okay.
Yeah, yeah, I would give it exactly the same. Yeah, so
That,
probably had all the same problems that the Oceans 12 and 13 or whatever the sequel movies had, um, and some of the same problems that the worst of the zombies movies have, but also had the high points from those things too.
yeah,
So yeah,
it was just there. It didn't make me go, oh yeah, you have to watch this. But it was, eh.
yeah, yeah. And I think if you go into it thinking that it's going to be and just wanting to not have to think and watch a movie, you will enjoy it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
One of the things I watched, and the season is finally over. Um, Army of Darkness, no. It's on HBO Max, which is The Nevers. The Nevers appeared on HBO Max. Episode 6 was last Sunday, and it ended. Um, I hope this series gets renewed because this is Victorian area meets X-Men meets holy crap, what just happened? Because the last episode, I swear I was not watching The Nevers. I don't want to spoil it, but if you think you're not watching The Nevers, you're watching The Nevers. Because you get a lot of um, history of what's going on and why everything's happened. And it changes the entire story and entire background of what happens during the entire evening or the entire season. Um, I love the characters. I think everybody's really fun. I like the superpower thing. The characters now are exploding bigger than ever because you now get to know what's going on and why it's going on. Um, I hope I get to see more of the background and combination of what's happening currently because the last episode blows everything out of the water. You're like, oh, this is a Victorian episode on, mutant superpower, Victorian X-Men. Nah. Yeah, that totally did not. Yeah, it completely changes everything on this last episode. So without spoilers, right now I give the Nevers like a half space herpes. Just because it's really freaking good, but there's a few tiny little things, and it's like nitpicking that are like, what? But it is very much with it. If you like X-Men, you like Victorian type things, if you like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, watch this. It's really really good.
I am really interested to watch that one. So, how do you compare it to something like Firefly? The other Josh Whedon.
Well, Firefly is an entity on its own, but you can definitely tell he's got that spark in this. You can feel the Josh Whedon spark in it. Um, I don't know if it has not been renewed yet, but I understand that Josh Whedon's taken more of a back seat on the second season if he's doing it. Still
Probably
writing.
best because
Yeah.
yeah,
His current predicament. I think he'll still
Does
be
he?
writing.
it's kind of an ass as it
Yeah.
turns out.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear that yet.
Yeah, he's had some problems. But I'm hoping it gets another season because it's a really good story, got a really good cast, really good setting, clothing, everything's really good. Oh, is he not
Crash
involved?
Panda says not involved with it at all anymore.
Hmm. Last I heard, he was probably going to be taking a back seat and just writing and such, but if he's not, oh well. I want it to come back. That's my thing. I just want it to come back.
Hmm.
Kathy, what you got?
I have two other things, and they couldn't be more different than the first one. Yesterday, for the first time, I watched Red Sonja from the 1985 with Brigitte Nielsen and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I loved it. Oh my God. It was so cheesy. It was like I was reading one of my Conan of Samaria adventures by Robert E. Howard. I was like, Robert E. Howard must be looking down and smiling on this film because it's so cheesy. Uh, Arnold Schwarzenegger was not Conan, but he kind of was. He kind of was Conan in the King of Aquilonia sort of Conan, like he's already been places and seen things, and he's the lord of whatever, and and of course Sonia, was the wronged victim of Queen so and so, and her family was slain, and you know the usual. And so
Usual
now
drama.
she's her fairy godmother came down and imbued her with power, and then she went and trained with a sword master at the school of sword fighting. And at the beginning it doesn't really show us much of the whole training of sword fighting, which when it gets remade, that might actually be a cool thing they should consider doing, is the training montage. But anyways, so it just shows her and her master saying, you are now a master, there's nothing more we can teach you, goodbye, like all masters do, kick their student out, like, we can't teach you anymore, go away and learn life. So and then Conan comes in. I don't remember his name, it started with a K. He comes galloping up. He's like, I've been looking all over for you. Your sister is dying. And takes her to him, and they have to go out on this quest to, her sister's dying wish is she has to destroy this artifact, and only women can touch this artifact, and so it has to be her. And then they go off, and then she ends up confronting the queen, arch nemesis of her youth, and exacting her revenge. And meanwhile, the hilarious, plucky comic relief is this child emperor and his valet, I guess, his servant. The servant was actually my favorite character in the whole thing. I love the Falcon, the servant. I don't remember the actor's name. And the kid actually went on to do a bunch of martial arts stuff. But this little kid, who's like 2 years younger than me, was doing all these great little martial arts things and sword work and stuff in this film. And I mean, he was like, I don't know, it had to have been 10, maybe, if that.
And he was kicking some ass.
Well, he was this like snotty, arrogant upstart young prince, and of course by the end he had changed, and they sort of beat into him some sort of humility. And but it was so ridiculous and fun. I give it 3 space herpes, but I would watch it again.
Peter,
It's
do you
a
have another
good
one?
bad movie then.
Yeah.
I did have another one. So the other one I watched was Yin Yang Master, which is a Chinese movie. I did not watch it with subtitles. I watched it dubbed, which may have been a mistake because, yes, the actors' voices were pretty cheesy, I think. So, probably one space herpy just from having cheesy acting voices. It was a really unusual movie. It had, so, like, I'm not super knowledgeable about Chinese culture or customs or folklore, but I think the idea was that essentially there's demons, and the demons live in a separate realm, but they sort of interact with the human realm, and that the demons aren't necessarily evil. They can kind of be sort of neutral, and that if a demon sort of swears their allegiance to towards a human, then that means that it's like an unbreakable bond. So it sort of like is how you know that a demon can be trusted, because they will have sworn their allegiance. So the story kind of starts out with this this temple that's guarding this evil stone where the demon king has been imprisoned, and disaster happens. The main character is then accused of committing the crime that has caused this disaster, and he's outcast. And that's kind of like the beginning of the story. He's obviously not guilty, so he's innocent of the crime, but he goes and lives in the forest, and he sort of makes friends with these demons. And the demons are oftentimes like Wind in the Willows type characters, like Disney characters almost. So that's a little, I think, cheesy for my sensibilities to have kind of like these Wind and Willow sort of characters that are protecting against evil. I wasn't really sure who the audience was. Like, it's interesting. In Japan, it's rated G. I think in the Philippines, it's rated PG-13. In the US, it's rated R. So I'm not quite sure how you go from G to R, but there's seems to be. I'm not sure who the audience is or who it's trying to target. It was. I'm trying to think if there was anything super redeeming about it. I would say not really. It's I didn't enjoy the plot. I think the animation on it was pretty good. So there's some cool animation that's happening. I do like some of the sort of kung fu movies where it's a little bit ridiculous, guys flying through the air and stuff like that. So I'm cool with that. Like, none of that bothers me. But yeah, I think the dubbing was pretty bad. There was probably quite a bit lost in, just the character voices for that. And then just the entire story arc was pretty abysmal. But it had, like, you could tell it had like a huge budget behind it. So like the special effects were good. The martial arts scenes were good. But yeah, for me, is a scale of 5 space harpies, it would probably be a 4.
Ooh.
But, people may enjoy watching it still just because it's kind of like an extravaganza. So it's a bad movie, but it's got the budget for it to be visually impressive.
Cool. Well, guys, that is the podcast for the day. We appreciate everybody coming out and listening and so on and so forth. If you have it, if I can get one of the mods to make sure they link the Kickstarter real quick, go check out the Creature Caster Judgment Eternal Champions Kickstarter. You only have less than 50 hours to go on it. You've definitely met your goal and exceeded quite a bit. So
yeah, our first day just exploded. When you launch a Kickstarter, you're feeling a lot of nerves, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna walk away and not look at it for a day. And I got a call after 5 minutes being like, oh, we hit our goals. Like, oh,
wow. That's awesome.
Which is a really good thing to feel, because then you're like, whew.
Yeah, exactly. You get to relax a little bit because there's a lot of stress up until that point.
Yeah.
So,
now you got to work on the stretch goals, and then
stretch goals. Yeah, just keep unlocking more, hopefully.
So, Peter, we appreciate you coming on. You're always welcome to come on and talk about stuff if you ever want to come on. Maybe you can come in and every once in a while jump in the chat and go, Scissoring a Desire. Scissoring a Desire.
I will be doing that more often, for sure.
kind of
Kathy. Thank you so much for having me, Kathy and Gonzo. It was tons of fun. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Guys, we're going to send y'all off to Zambies tonight. So when the raid hits, go over there and jump in. Send all the emotes. Raid her out. If you haven't followed her, make sure you follow her. Say hi to her. We're going to play the outro music. Just a hint, they can hear us when we talk when the outro music is going. So don't say anything too bad. So.
Okay.
Oh, shucks. I was thinking of just the worst violation of terms of service ever, but I guess I won't say that now.
I guess I shouldn't say Suzerain of Desire multiple times during the outro music, right?
Just whisper it. Just whisper it. softly.
Suzerain of desire.
It's not letting me raid for some reason. Let's see.
It's gonna be like
There it
that.
goes. All right, guys.
Yay.
Have a good night. Outro music. Here we come.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Make sure you hit that raid button.
I'm John.
I'm Kathy.
Ha!
That's Gonzo.
I don't know who I'm supposed to be then. I guess I have to be Gonzo.
You could be Peter.
I could be Peter.